we'll discuss the Curie law. Curie law. Here we know the magnet and the iron piece. The difference between them is the iron piece here, the magnetic dipoles, they are aligned haphazardly. So the net magnetic field is zero. If there is no external field applied, then this will behave like simple iron piece because it is not a magnet. If suppose you apply the magnetic field non-zero in this direction, then what will happen? Most of the dipoles are now aligned in one direction. If you increase H, almost all the dipoles are aligned in one direction. Now it has become a magnet. So we can make the magnet from the iron piece by external field in one direction. So these dipoles aligned. So we can make the magnet. Now we want to demagnetize it. For the demagnetization, if we apply the magnetic field in opposite direction, these dipoles will be cancelled out in pair, or you hammer it, or you increase the temperature. Suppose you increase the temperature, what will happen? These dipoles now, because of the heat energy, because of the contact energy, they disturb. So we are discussing here, if you increase the temperature, this magnetic field disturbs. At a particular temperature or above this, which is called the Curie temperature, this magnet will be disturbed totally. Or you can say the ferromagnetic material will behave like in ordinary paramagnetic material. So we are discussing here only the temperature. So if we increase the temperature at or above which a particular temperature, this magnet will be disturbed, and this is called Curie temperature. Curie temperature. So here we can say for iron it is roughly 1000 degrees Celsius. So up to the 1000 it is a magnet, above this it will not a magnet, it is disturbed. So here the magnetic field is directly proportional to magnetizing force, and I is called intensity of magnetization. Intensity of magnetization depends on magnetizing force. What is magnetizing force? This is the Ni, and V here is mu naught Ni or mu naught H, and V here is mu H or mu R mu naught H. So we can say if the magnetic field increases by increasing the H, I also increases, and I is inversely proportional to the temperature. You combine these two, we can say I or B is directly proportional to H by T, and I upon H is called I upon H is directly proportional to this. I upon H is called susceptibility. So this magnetic susceptibility is directly proportional to 1 by T, or a constant, it is called say C. So I am writing here C. C is called Curie constant. Curie constant. This is Curie law. Got it? Here we are discussing especially the temperature. Got it? If you increase the temperature, magnetic field decreases. At or above which particular temperature called Curie temperature, this magnet field not behave like an ordinary iron piece or a paramagnetic material. So this is all about say Curie law. Here, yes please.
We have seen Iron Smith, he beat iron with an iron hammer. So, sir, gradually he started inventing the magnetic
Actually, iron piece and a magnet. What is the difference here? If you concentrate all the lines of force in one direction, it will behave like a magnet. If haphazardly in all direction, it is not a magnet. Suppose when an ordinary student and very good student, what is the difference? A student, if the energy concentrate in one direction, naturally he perform better. Similarly here, if all the dipoles are haphazardly in all directions, then net magnetic will be very less or zero. If they aligned by external magnetic field or by any means giving you the current in one direction, dipoles are now aligned in one direction. It is a magnet, strong magnet. You know laser light? What is laser light? If all the energy of light now aligned in one direction only, it can cut the steel piece even. Light can cut the steel. Can you believe it? But if it concentrated in one direction all the energy, then energy is very large in one direction. Similarly, these dipoles are aligned in one direction. It is a magnet. If I was only in all direction, net magnetic will be zero, because the dipoles, they cancel out in pair. Got it now? Okay, clear? So the difference between iron piece and the magnet is only when dipoles are aligned in one direction, it is a magnet. Not in one direction, it is not a magnet or strong magnet. Or if they cancel out, all the dipoles cancel out in pair, it is behaving like ordinary iron piece. In iron piece also dipoles are there, but they are not aligned. Just like a conductor is there, there is no current. If you connect here across this conductor of battery, now effectively electrons are moving in opposite direction of electrical field, and you are getting the current in opposite direction of motion of the electron. So here the concept is same in all cases. Okay, got it now? Still you have doubt? You note down this? You just note down this? Should I rub it? An important curve called BH curve. BH curve, the curve between magnetic field and the magnetizing force. You can say it is IH also, because intensity of magnetization and magnetic field both are almost same thing. H is what? Magnetizing force. I is the effect here. Intensity of magnetization. B is also an effect here. So BH curve is called, say, suppose we are taking the solenoid and here current is there. So H is called Ni. What is small n? Small n is called the number of turns per unit length, and I is the current. Suppose either you increase n or you increase I, H increases. So B also increases because it is directly proportional to H. Initially, suppose an iron piece, if you take here, then if there is no current, there is no magnetization on ordinary iron piece. Suppose you increase I, means increase H. By increasing H, we are getting the B increases, but non-linearly. And after some time, what will happen? Initially, magnetic field increases sharply. Then a little bit decrement in the magnetic field. If you increase H, magnetizing force further. Now a stage comes when B is not increasing. It is called the you can say saturation. Now suppose from point O to A, this is the graph plotted. If you decrease H, what will happen? It is following this path. Okay, A to B means H is 0, B is non-zero. It means most of the dipoles now aligned in the direction of H. Despite decreasing H, B is not, B is decreasing but not zero. It is called residual magnetism. So OB is called residual magnetism. Residual magnetism. Or sometimes it is called retentivity. Retentivity. What do you mean by the retentivity? There is no actual magnetic field, even then it is magnetized. Magnetized means a dipole already aligned, it is disturbed little bit, not completely. Suppose you want to make the magnetic field zero, it means you have to apply the magnetic field in opposite direction, so the all the dipoles now disturbed totally. It means here like this C. So this part OC is called coercivity. Coercivity. Coercivity means in opposite direction you have to apply the OC part H in opposite direction, so the magnetic field becomes zero. If you increase the magnetizing force in opposite direction, what will happen? It following this path, and like this, and like this, and like this. So this is the path here. A, B, C, D, E, F, A. If you repeat this cycle again and again, you will never reach at point O. Initially, what was the position? We are not able to achieve it. Got it? This curve is called BH curve. Its other name is hysteresis curve. Its other name is, right on here is hysteresis. BH curve is IH curve is also called hysteresis. Hysteresis curve. What do you mean by this hysteresis? Hysteresis means B is lagging with H. B is lagging behind H. Got it? This is called hysteresis or BH or IH curve. So this is the curve. Here OB part and OE part is called retentivity, and OC part and OF part is called coercivity. Coercivity means the permanency. Coercivity means permanency. Suppose in one direction, if the dipoles are aligned in the opposite direction, this much magnetizing force is needed. Suppose this OC part coercivity is more magnetizing field, you have to apply to decrease the magnetic field zero, or you have to demagnetize it. For the demagnetization, this OC part coercivity is more and more. It is very difficult here to demagnetize it, because most of the part here is very large amount of part here as magnetizing force is needed to demagnetize it. So in the coercivity means permanence. The permanent magnet. For the permanent magnet, we require here coercivity is large. Coercivity is large. Coercivity is very large, so it is very good and permanent magnet. Suppose a magnet is there, it is permanent, no doubt. But if the retentivity is very less, it is the permanent magnet but weak magnet. It means for the permanent magnet, coercivity and the retentivity also large. Both large. If suppose retentivity is not quite large, this coercivity must be very large, because we want permanent as well as strong magnet. So both the things must be very large as far as possible. Got it? So this is the graph drawn for steel, and the same graph we have plotted for soft iron piece. We are getting this sort of graph. For iron piece. You can say the difference between the iron piece, soft iron and the steel is, for the soft iron and the steel is, what is the difference? Can you see? The retentivity part is more in soft iron in comparison to steel. At the same time, this coercivity is very less. Coercivity is very less in comparison to steel. It means here soft iron is also very good material because retentivity is quite large. At the same time, permanence is very less. If permanence is very less, we can demagnetize it easily. That is why soft iron is used for making the electromagnet and temporary magnet. Just like in bell, electrical bell, it is magnetized, demagnetized again and again. So here, this is called temporary magnet. We can easily magnetize and demagnetize. So this part, coercivity means, if it is say area also, we will discuss. But temporary magnet and electromagnet, suppose electromagnet, this is the crane suppose, and we want to lift the load, heavy load, with the help of this crane. A rope is going here like this. This is the rope, and suppose you want to lift this magnetic material here, coil is wrapped over it and heavy current, strong current is passing through this, then what will happen? It will become a magnet, and heavy load can be lifted easily. And suppose at the time of say just throwing it, we can put it downward and make the current zero. So it demagnetizes immediately because of the weight. We put it here on the floor and make the current zero. So what will happen? We can shift magnetic material like iron in factories, industries, easily from one place to another place without say much effort, easily, but magnetic material only. So whenever you require here electromagnet or temporary magnet, soft iron or better material like alloys, different alloys which performs better than soft iron, and these are the new metal and the firm metal. These are the alloys here which perform a better result, gives you a better result than soft iron. In case of permanent magnet, steel alloys, some alloys are there which are performing or giving you the result better. These alloys are say Al-Nico, aluminum, nickel, steel, or aluminum, nickel, cobalt, steel. Here, this property, the coercivity is large. Coercivity is very large. You just note down these. For electromagnet, soft iron is needed. Here, coercivity is very less. And the retentivity is quite high. For the temporary magnet, here coercivity is less, retentivity is high or large. Whereas in this case, coercivity must be very large. Even if retentivity is not so large, okay, but if retentivity is also very large, we are getting the permanent and strong magnet. Just note down these points and you can ask any doubt. Just note down this plane here. and this is the load here. We are getting this. It is magnetized by this piece. Any doubt regarding this? The hysteresis curve, BH curve. Any doubt? One more thing which is very important here that I discuss is the area of BH curve. Say this is the area here, like this. This is the area. Area under the BH curve or hysteresis curve, it gives you the energy required to magnetize and demagnetize. Magnetize and demagnetize the material. Suppose if it is a question of one time magnetization and demagnetization, even if energy is more, no problem. But suppose a device where again and again frequently we have to magnetize it, demagnetize it, like say transformer. In transformer, what is transformer? Transformer is a device to increase the voltage from low voltage to high voltage and vice versa, and frequency is very high, say suppose 50 cycle per second. It is not very high, but even then it makes 50 cycle per second. It means 100 times you have to magnetize and demagnetize in 1 second only. So the area is more and more, energy required in 1 cycle more and more in 1 second, very large energy required in 1 minute, in 1 hour, in 1 day. So this is a great loss. At the same time, windings wrapped over this soft iron core, it may burn out because of excessive heating. At the same time, this heat is simply waste. So electrical energy is wasted here. At the same time, it is dangerous also because this heat may increase the temperature and the winding insulation may fail. So if we are using here like transformer, we cannot use the curve or the material for which the area is very large. We are using here soft iron because the area of the soft iron is very less. So here the soft iron is needed because in 1 cycle of energy is large. If you multiply it with say 1 day, suppose, it means in 1 cycle 100 times, in 1 minute multiplied by 60, in 1 hour again multiplied 60, in 1 day multiplied with again with 24. So this is large amount of energy which is lost. There is no use of it. And this factor, for one factor here is there is a lot of energy which is wasted. So electrical energy is wasted here. At the same time, it may burn out the coils and the insulation. So if the transformer fails, the cost of it may be the very large transformer in crores also. So we have to take care. We must use proper material for different applications. Proper material for different applications. Like say in permanent magnet, this steel or alloys like Alnico steel. In soft iron, a temporary magnet and electromagnet, soft iron or new metal, per metal like alloys we are using. In transformer, where the repeated cycle, not in transformer, but any device which are using here repetitive cycle, we must use that material for which the area of cross section under the BH curve must be very low. So not only the soft iron, but very good material like per and new metal. Got it? Any doubt regarding this? So this BH curve, hysteresis curve, very important, and the conceptual question made on this permanent electromagnet and transformer. Again and again I am repeating this. So these questions are very common in board. Okay, not in competition, but you must know the case here. This subjective type questions, there is no subjective type question, but in objective type questions, yes, the question become in competition also, because there is no formula, nothing like that. So there is no subjective type questions here, only objective type. And for the point of the board questions, this topic is very, very important. Okay, any doubt? I am just waiting, we will discuss tomorrow, but in just 10 minutes or so, we are not able to discuss the numerical problems, only 1 and 2 we can discuss. So we will discuss the numerical problem tomorrow. And today we are going to start a new chapter, and that is also very, very new, important chapter, that is electromagnetic induction. As per the 10th class knowledge, what is electromagnetic induction? Here the Faraday law and this experiment, first of all, Faraday's electromagnetic induction. In short, it is also called EMI, electromagnetic induction. For this, one experiment is there. He performed the experiment. Question is, why this experiment? Why this? We are discussing the electromagnetic induction. Here we know, we have discussed this. Everybody knows current produces the magnetic field. In the mind of the scientist, whether the reverse possibility is there. Reverse possibility means, can we produce the current by the magnetic field? For this, many scientists perform many types of experiments. He also performed the experiment. He has taken one coil or solenoid and a magnet and this very sensitive galvanometer. Only these three things: sensitive galvanometer, a magnet, and the coil or solenoid. Only these three things. He performed the experiment day and night for continuously 11 years. No result. After 11, with these three things, after 11 years, he fed up. So, in frustration, he throws this. He throws this magnet. Suddenly, he found there is deflection in the galvanometer. In frustration, he thought, just take it. But the brain here is of scientist, so he thought there was a deflection in the galvanometer. So he thought, why this deflection? Oh, by throwing this. So again he throws. Again deflection comes. So now a new discovery, because of this movement here. If this is stationary, there is no relative motion between the coil and the magnet. There is no induced EMF and induced current. But with the relative motion, he found, yes, induced EMF is there, induced current is there. So he performed this experiment again. Suppose here, relative motion means if the north pole is coming towards the coil or solenoid, there is deflection in the galvanometer in one side, say suppose right side. Suppose this north pole is moving away, there is deflection in the opposite direction, say left side. It means he again performed and differently. Suppose this magnet is coming closer to this coil with very fast speed, more deflection is there. Less speed, less deflection is there. Suppose this is stationary, this coil is coming closer, again relative motion is there, but both are coming closer, again relative motion is there. So with the help of this relative motion between the coil and the solenoid and this magnet, induced EMF develops, and with the closed circuit, induced current is also flowing in the circuit. So this was a simply you can say accident, just by throwing the magnet in the coil or solenoid, it changes the whole world, like transformer, motor, generator. There's many things based on this electromagnetic induction. Got it? जिसने पूरा change this whole world scenario of energy. Now again, because of the relative motion, suppose north pole is coming closer, north pole develops here. North pole is coming closer here, north pole develops. Suppose in another case, if suppose here north pole is going away, then south pole develops. Question is, whether this is north pole is coming closer, north pole might develop. If south pole is coming closer, south pole develops. If north pole is going away, south pole develops. If south pole is going away, north pole develops. Why? Question here is, the Lenz law. We'll discuss why this north pole, why this south pole here. So he found whatever say finding is there by this experiment, he made the law. What is law? Induced EMF here develops. E is not the electron charge, no, it is the, you can say like this also. This is the symbol, is EMF. So induced EMF is directly proportional to change in the flux linkage. Change in the flux linkage. Suppose this is coming to the flux linkage more and more. At the same time, it depends on the time also. These two laws, suppose you come bring closer this time, less time, it is coming closer, more induced EMF develops here. If they combine these two laws, this is the first law, this is the second law. What is the first law? Induced EMF is directly proportional to change of flux linkage, and second law, it depends on the time. If less time is there, more induced EMF develops and vice versa. He combined both the laws. So this is the first law, this is the second law. He combined, then this is called delta phi by delta t. Combinedly, we can say here, it is the induced EMF, it is the directly proportional to rate of change of flux linkage. Rate of change of flux linkage. Minus sign comes here. What is the meaning of this minus sign? At the same time, number of turns are more and more. We multiply here. Either you say this is the total flux linkage. If one turn, you can multiply with L. If it is a total flux, means N is already multiplied with change in the flux linkage. Total flux linkage. Suppose this is the flux linkage with one turn, you have multiplied with N, and is the here number of turns, total number of turns. Minus sign means this another law, this is called Lenz law. This is the Lenz law. What is the Lenz law? It is giving you the minus sign only, or it is giving you the direction of induced EMF, induced current. What is the meaning of this minus sign here? It will give you why here north pole develops when north pole is coming closer, when north pole is going away, why south pole is developing here. It will tell you by the Lenz law that the minus sign comes here. What is the Lenz law now? Lenz law, as per the Lenz law, here direction of induced EMF, induced current in the circuit develops in such a way so that it always opposes the cause due to which it develops. It means if the north pole is coming here, induced current develops here, direction of induced current in the coil develops in such a way so that north pole is developing here. It opposes the cause. Cause is north pole is coming closer. It can oppose by the north pole develops here. If north pole is going away, south pole develops here. So in all the cases, yes, here also if it is coming closer, north pole develops, opposite. Action is opposed by this north pole. If north pole is going away, it is attracted. Again the action is opposed. It means the Lenz law, it will tell you the direction of induced EMF and induced current. What is the direction here? Direction of induced EMF. What is the Lenz law? I am just speaking again. You please note down. What is the Lenz law? As per the Lenz law, the direction of induced EMF and induced current developed in such a way so that it always opposes the action or cause due to which this induced EMF develops. In all cases, it must oppose. North pole is coming, north pole develops, north pole is going away, south pole develops. Suppose we say this Lenz law supports the conservation law of energy. It supports the law of conservation of energy. Support the law of conservation of energy. Let us discuss this. We take the contradiction. We suppose, although it is not a correct thing. Suppose north pole is coming closer, your south pole develops. Question is, if north pole is develops here, north pole and the south pole attraction. So due to the attraction, it coming closer. Means induced EMF develops here without doing anything. Here it's possible, but law of conservation of energy fails because electrical energy we are producing without doing anything, without any effort. Electrical energy is producing. Suppose it is possible, then there is no energy crisis. But why energy, this conservation law of energy fails? It means here it cannot come closer automatically. We have to bring it closer. We have to make some effort, and this work done by the external agency like us or by any machine, when it is coming closer, then this energy will convert or may convert into electrical energy. So actually it happens. If north pole is coming, it cannot come automatically because the north pole opposing here. So against this repulsive force, we have to do what done and bringing it closer. Suppose north pole is going away and suppose north pole develops here in contradiction, then the repulsion it will go away automatically. This again fails the conservation law of energy. It means this Lenz law is correct and support the law of conservation energy. It means if the north pole is coming closer, north pole must develop. If the north pole is going away, south pole must develop. So we can say by the energy law of conservation, Lenz law is correct. Lenz law means here the only minus sign. It will tell you the direction of induced EMF and induced current in the circuit in the coil. It means Lenz law is correct. It supports the law of conservation of energy. Combinedly, all the two laws given by the Faraday. Induced depends on the change in the flux linkage. Flux means lines of force. They are coming north pole, coming like this, coming out, which is linking with this, and north pole also it is going away. So it is decreasing here. South pole support. Suppose north pole here coming closer, north pole develops here, it opposes. So action is always opposite. If increment is there by coming closer, north pole develops, it opposite. Suppose north pole going away, decrement is there, now it supports here because of the south pole. It means here every action is opposed, always opposed. So Lenz law is correct. Now in the equation 3, all the three laws, first law of Faraday, second law of Faraday, and third law Lenz law. Lenz law is giving you only direction, not magnitude. Magnitude is given by the Faraday law, two laws, and the direction is given by the Lenz law. So this equation is complete. If suppose here, if we are writing the phi with linking with the singleton, then it can be written like this: minus n delta phi by delta t or d phi by dt. No problem. But mind it, this flux is linking with the singleton, and here this flux is linking with the total. So you can write here minus k, proportion constant is 1. Now any doubt regarding this? Up to this EMI